Hey, hi, hello there, and welcome back to Formula Amateur, where today we'll be talking about the brief history of Mercedes from its time as Tyrrell Racing all the way through history into present day Mercedes. So let's get on with it, shall we? Okay, so let's start with a little bit of background on Mercedes. So Mercedes as an organisation has appeared in Formula One on several occasions as a team and as an engine supplier. The current iteration of Mercedes is the Mercedes-AMG Petronas Formula One team, which root stems from the Tyrrell Racing organisation, and that started in 1968, with their first entrance being in the South African GP, where they were known as Matra International, as this was a collaborative effort between the Matra organisation and Tyrrell. They were known as Tyrrell Racing from the South African GP 2 years later in 1970 until the Japanese Grand Prix in 1998, which was the final one of that season. And during this time, whilst being Matra and whilst being Tyrrell Racing, Ken Tyrrell, the team founder, was the sole principal at the team. So now let's get on to the drivers. So in 1968, their first drivers were Jackie Stewart and Jean-Pierre Beltois and Johnny Servoz-Gavin. In 1969, the driver lineup was the same as in 1968. In 1970, it was Jackie Stewart, Johnny Servoz-Gavin and Francois Sever. In 1971, it was Jackie Stewart, Francois Sever and Peter Revson. In 72, it was Jackie Stewart, Francois Sever and Patrick Depailler. In 73, it was Jackie Stewart, Francois Sever and Chris Amon. In 1974, it was Jody Scheckter and Patrick Depailler. In 1975, it was Jody Scheckter, Patrick Depailler, Jean-Pierre Jaboulet and Michel Leclerc. In 76, it was Jody Scheckter and Patrick Depailler. In 1977, it was Ronnie Peterson and Patrick Depailler. In 78, it was Patrick Depailler and Didier Pironi. In 79, it was Didier Pironi, Jean-Pierre Javier, Jeff Lees and Derek Daly. In 1980, it was Derek Daly, Jean-Pierre Jarier and Mike Thackwell. In 81, it was Eddie Cheever, Kevin Cogan, Riccardo Zanino and Michele Alboreto. In 82, it was Michele Alboreto, Slim Borgard and Brian Henton. In 83, it was Danny Sullivan and Michele Alboreto. In 84, it was Martin Brundle, Stefan Johansson, Stefan Belaf and Mike Thackwell. In 85, it was the same lineup except from Mike Thackwell, but instead they also had Ivan Capelli and Felipe Strife. In 86, it was Martin Brundle and Felipe Strife. In 87, it was Jonathan Palmer and Felipe Strife. In 88, it was Jonathan Palmer and Julian Bailey. In 89, it was Jonathan Palmer, Michele Alboreto, Jean Alesi and Johnny Herbert. In 1990, it was Satoru Nakajima and Jean Alesi. In 91, it was Satoru Nakajima and Stefano Medina. In 92, it was Olivier Grouillard and Andrea De Cesaris. In 93, it was Ukio Katayama and Andrea De Cesaris. In 94, it was Ukio Katayama and Mark Blundell. In 95, it was Ukio Katayama, Gabriele Tarquini and Mike Sallow. In 96, it was Ukio Katayama and Mika Sallow. In 97, it was Jos Verstappen and Mika Sallow. And in 98, it was Ricardo Prosit and Taransuke Tagaki. And now we move on to their time as British American Racing. So in 1997, British American Tobacco bought Tyrrell Racing and officially started racing as the British American Racing Team in 1999. The team principals during that time were Craig Pollock from 1999 to 2001, David Richards from 2002 to 2004, and Nick Fry from 2005 to 2006. And in 1999 they were known as British American Racing, and the drivers in the team were Jacques Villeneuve, Ricardo Zonta and Mika Salo. In 2000 it was Jacques Villeneuve and Ricardo Zonta. This is when they changed the name after an additional workaround with some sponsors and also promoting their own brand of cigarettes. They were known as Lucky Strike, BAR, British American Racing, Honda Formula One team. And then in 2001 they had Oliver Panis and Jacques Villeneuve. In 2002 the lineup was the same. In 2003 it was Jacques Villeneuve, Takuma Sato and Jenson Button. In 2004 it was Jenson Button and Takuma Sato. In 2005 it was Jenson Button, Takuma Sato and Anthony Davidson. And then we go on to their time, very brief time, as Honda. So in 2006 Honda decided to fully take over the team. So they became Honda Racing Formula One team. This was primarily due to regulation being introduced in 2007 forbidding the promotion of tobacco. So major tobacco sponsors could no longer be title sponsors at all. They did find workarounds eventually where they were promoting their other nicotine products, but they were never from that point onwards allowed to have them be title sponsors. They might be secret sponsors, but they can't be title sponsors, or they might be minor sponsors. So Honda was in the championship for 2 years, where the drivers for that entire time from 2006 to 2008 were Jenson Button and Rubens Barrichello. But then, as a result of the 2008 financial crash, Honda pulled out of the championship as a team. They were bought out by Ross Brawn, who renamed the team Brawn GP in 2009. They retained both the drivers, and as a result, for that time when Brawn was a team, which was only for a year, they had only one set of drivers, Jenson Button and Rubens Barrichello, and Jenson Button became a world champion with Brawn, the only one to do so with the team when they were known as Brawn GP. In November 2009, Mercedes bought a large stake in the team, becoming Mercedes GP in the 2010 season. So let's talk about Mercedes proper. So now the Mercedes team is in full swing, and they had Ross Brawn as the team principal from 2010 to 2012, and then from 2013 onwards it has been Toto Wolff at the helm. The Mercedes GP Petronas Formula One team was the name of the team in 2010 to 2011, where the drivers were Michael Schumacher and Nico Rosberg. This was the return of Michael Schumacher. Following his retirement in 2006, he returned to Formula One in 2010, and in 2011 they also had Michael Schumacher and Nico Rosberg, and in 2012 they also had Michael Schumacher and Nico Rosberg, but this was the final time that Michael Schumacher was a Formula One driver. Then in 2013 it was Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton, who were childhood friends until they became childhood enemies, and this went on through 2014, 2015 and 2016, where during that time Lewis Hamilton won the championship twice, and Nico Rosberg won it in 2016, and about 2 weeks or a week after he won it, he announced his retirement and has been retired from Formula One ever since, but now is a presenter on Sky Sports News, Sky Sports F1 every now and then. And then in 2017 we had Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas, and this continued in 2018, 2019, 2020 and 2021, which also gained Lewis Hamilton his his championships from 17, 18, 19 and 20, and that's how he has become the 7-time world champion. His first championships were with McLaren, and then in 2022 they replaced Valtteri Bottas with George Russell, but Lewis Hamilton stayed. And then in 2023 it was Lewis Hamilton and George Russell again, and in 2024 the same. But then in early 2024, Lewis Hamilton signed with Ferrari for the 25 season. So now in 2025, we have George Russell and Kimi Antonelli, but both of their contracts end at the end of the year and they still haven't signed either of them. So we are awaiting what the lineup will look like in 2026. Mercedes currently provides engines for McLaren, Williams and Aston Martin, but in 2026, Aston Martin will be a Honda engines customer, so they will no longer rely on Mercedes for their engines, and instead Alpine will use Mercedes engines, as in my Alpines episode where I spoke about them. They finally decided to no longer rely on Renault for their engine suppliers, cutting ties from them and being a Mercedes customer. So that concludes the Mercedes brief history of episode. Thank you so much for listening, and don't forget to check out my lovely colleagues on the Be The Change Media Network. Check out our website, BeTheChangeMediaNetwork.com. I will clue you in that I'm planning to start a website for the podcast as well, so keep an eye out for that. I will keep you in the loop with that one. Don't forget to check out Formula Amateur on Instagram and Facebook. I hope you have a lovely rest of your weekend, and we'll see you on Monday with a race rundown episode, followed by another brief history of. This time it'll be Red Bull Racing on Saturday and or Sunday, so keep an eye out for that. And there is no race on next week, so we have a week's break between the Monza Grand Prix and Baku, so we'll have a week without it. Have a lovely rest of your weekend, as I said, and see you on Monday. Bye.